Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bible Q&A. Today we're discussing why were Jesus' apostles fighting over power? Besides Judas, the apostles were incredibly humble individuals who went through a lot to follow their master. They were chased by the Pharisees starting from John chapter 11 verse 53. They were homeless according to Matthew chapter 8 verse 20. They likely faced rejection in their preaching efforts, since Jesus taught them how to respond to unreceptive Jews in Luke chapter 10 verses 10 to 11. They dealt with these challenges with remarkable humility, although their common professions probably contributed to their modesty. Nonetheless, given that their master was the mightiest man on earth, it was no surprise the apostles began to wonder who would receive that power when Jesus left. They got into an argument about who was the greatest in Luke chapter 22 verse 24, and Christ's response exposed the reason for their quarrel. The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. Luke chapter 22 verse 25. Because the apostles were commoners, they had a layman's understanding of power. Obtain fame, get fortune, have others obey you, and achieve your dreams. The end. Surely Jesus had this kind of future in mind. They probably weren't expecting Christ's subsequent comments. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief, as he that doth serve. Luke chapter 22 verse 26. Jesus' idea of a chief would gain all this power and then serve others? It probably didn't make much sense to them. However, thousands of years later, a political system would spread across the world with these very ideals in mind. Democracies are founded on the belief that the leaders should minister to the people, who are the ones who truly hold power. The problem is, few politicians have actually accepted these ideas. They put citizens' taxes in their own pockets. They serve billionaires rather than the working class. They frequently do things that the majority of people do not want. Elections merely cycle through the same autocrats over and over again, who are democratic only in name. The reason why so many politicians are corrupt is simple. They don't want to suffer. You can't be a benevolent leader without suffering. Paul was thrown in prison in Acts chapter 16 verses 23 to 24. Nehemiah faced enemies who planned to storm Jerusalem and stop its reconstruction in Nehemiah 4. Israel was so rebellious that Moses called his leadership role affliction in Numbers chapter 11 verse 11. There are so many troubles that a good leader would face that they would spend sleepless and impoverished nights trying to fix them. In fact, it is Satan who created humanity's current perception of leadership. He wanted all of God's creations to obey him in Isaiah chapter 14, but since he couldn't reign in heaven, he decided to reign on earth. He would control Earth's leaders by convincing them that they had to control their subjects, and this selfish style of leadership would trickle down all the way to local landowners forcing peasants to work for them. Naturally, Jesus's and Satan's styles of leadership were going to come into conflict, and sure enough, in Matthew chapter 4 verses 8 to 9, Satan tried to convince Christ to join his side by offering him all of the kingdoms of the world. Jesus would be able to command countries to do whatever he wanted them to. However, he wasn't interested in any of that. He came to the world to serve others, not to lord it over them. He said in Matthew, "Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many." Matthew chapter 20 verse 28. Plus, he knew that no matter how much power he had, it would never surpass that of God, according to Psalms chapter 62 verse 11. By the time Christ resurrected, the apostles finally understood his words in Luke chapter 22 verses 25 to 26. They confronted enemies in Acts chapter 4 verses 6 to 12. They dealt with unruly sheep in Acts chapter 5 verses 1 to 10. They resolved a divisive issue in Acts chapter 6 verses 1 to 6. They made sure that unlike Gentile leaders, they wouldn't be the benefactors. Their followers would. Therefore, my advice is that we should only look for power if we want to empower others. If people are serving us because of our positions, and it is we who are benefiting from that arrangement, it's a sign that we're exerting the wrong kind of influence. On the contrary, if people's spirituality is growing because of our work, then it doesn't just mean we're using our power well. It means we are mightier than any president or dictator on earth. And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. Why were Jesus' apostles fighting over power? They were fighting over power because they thought that true power was about controlling other people, when in reality, it was about helping their spirituality grow. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.